Well, we now understand the game. It looks like Donald Trump was pushing Pam Bondi to appoint Lindsey Halligan, an inexperienced lawyer that Donald Trump likes, to become the Eastern District of Virginia prosecutor. It looks like Eric Seibert was fired from being the prosecutor in the Eastern District of Virginia because he refused to go after Donald Trump's political rivals with false charges. And now we know why. It looks like to beat a statute of limitations that expires on Tuesday for lying to Congress, Lindsey Halligan, a former insurance defense lawyer who has no prosecutor experience but is super close to Donald Trump, who just got appointed today as the U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia. First job on her list is to indict James Comey by Tuesday for lying to Congress, the former FBI director who testified to Congress in 2020 under oath in order to talk about the Russia investigation and Russia influence into Donald Trump and the election influence. And during that, at one point, it appears that he denied that he was the source of any leak related to that investigation. Now, Donald Trump seems to have Lindsey Halligan all teed up to bring these charges against James Comey, former FBI director, as early as any time before Tuesday when the 5-year statute of limitations is up. MSNBC is reporting that, and it seems to make a lot of sense. I'm Michael Popok. You're here on the MeidasTouch Network on this breaking news. Now, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago or so, he sued several months ago, Donald Trump fired James Comey's daughter, Maureen Comey, who had been the prosecutor for Ghislaine Maxwell. She's already brought suit in the last several weeks against him related to that improper firing. Now he's always had it out for James Comey, even though, let's be frank, James Comey helped get him elected. Let's not forget James Comey standing before a microphone in October or so in 2016 and tanking for once and for all the Hillary Clinton campaign by declaring that he was opening an investigation into her emails right at the moment when voters were trying to decide between her and Donald Trump. So if anything, Comey helped Hillary Clinton or helped Donald Trump beat Hillary Clinton. And yet he has still not let anybody forget that James Comey, along with Robert Mueller and others, were involved in an investigation as to whether Russia colluded in any way with trying to get the Trump administration or the Trump campaign to try to get them elected. So now you've got this, let's put the pieces together. He wants to bring the indictment in Virginia because that's where James Comey lives, in the Eastern District of Virginia. Donald Trump looks around and he sees a rock-ribbed conservative, but a career prosecutor by the name of Eric Seibert sitting in the chair of U.S. Attorney, having been confirmed in May. He does a test case with him. I want you to bring charges against Letitia James. He says, I'll look into it. Seibert looks into it and finds there's no there for mortgage fraud. What, that a niece had a power of attorney to close on a piece of property in Virginia in which the lender knew that Letitia James was living in New York as the attorney general and wasn't going to be occupying that as her primary residence? That's the mortgage fraud? Eric Seibert said, no, I resign or fire me. But that was the dress rehearsal because they needed a meat puppet to run that office in order to bring the indictment, because we knew Eric Seibert wasn't going to do it. So he brings in Lindsey Halligan. Just several days ago, Donald Trump goes on the attack against Pam Bondi. We'll show you the social media post where he says, in effect, Pam, we're running out of time. You need to bring these prosecutions against James Comey and Eric and Adam Schiff, the senator from California, and Letitia James. Lindsey Halligan is ready. Who's Lindsey Halligan? Lindsey Halligan, who you would never normally hear anything about, unless Donald Trump became president, was a small-time insurance defense lawyer down in Florida, about 7 or 8 years out of law school, who got tapped, because I think she's in the Federalist Society, to be the local counsel for the Mar-a-Lago criminal investigation of Donald Trump for espionage and obstruction of justice. She signed a lot of the pleadings. She did some appearances in front of Judge Aileen Cannon. That Lindsey Halligan. Well, Donald Trump liked her a lot. So he sucked her up and brought her into the White House, where she's been running around, rummaging around the Smithsonian museums, trying to decide which facts she wanted to cancel. And so when Donald Trump was looking for somebody that he knew was compliant, that he knew would be malleable to anything he proposed, he found a willing Lindsey Halligan. So Lindsey Halligan, when when he says, hire Lindsey Halligan, she really likes you. He actually wrote that in the social media post. But Pam Bondi, in a moment of independence, decided that's not who she wanted. She wanted somebody named Meg Cleary. So she announces that she's going to do Meg Cleary. Then Donald Trump says, no, you're going to do Lindsey Halligan. And he appoints and confirms Lindsey Halligan as an acting. The clock is ticking on her 120 days as to whether she's going to get confirmed or not. And I don't think this is going to help her. I don't think this is going to help her get confirmed. That the first job that she's getting, which is obviously the quid pro quo. You want the job, Lindsey? You got to prosecute James Comey. You can almost hear it now. And she takes the job. Now, let's go back to 2020. The committee brings in, Jan 6 committee and other committees bring in James Comey to testify, presumably under oath, about his roles in various things. And this, according to reporting, is at least one of the charges is going to be somehow that he lied to Congress during this appearance. Let me show you a clip from the appearance. Let's go.
The FBI has in its possession in August 2016 information from the CIA confirming what Mr. Page said, that he in fact was assisting the CIA, which explained the contacts. That was never given to the court. Should they have been informed of that? Because that's exculpatory to Mr. Page.
I believe Mr. Horowitz found that they should have at least considered informing the court.
You're the director of the FBI. Would you wish that had been done if you had known about it?
I'm sorry, Senator, that what had been done?
That you had informed the court that Mr. Page was in fact working with the CIA, and that explains these contacts. Do you think out of a sense of fairness, the court should have been informed of that fact?
Again, I don't agree with your preamble. I don't think the record established that he was working with the CIA. I think Horowitz found he was a contact, which means
we got the email from the CIA confirming that he was a source for the CIA. Are you aware of the fact that that email later on was doctored?
Again, I don't accept what you said. I don't think the record establishes he was a source for the CIA. I am aware from the Horowitz
Why is
report.
Mr. Klein-Smith facing criminal indictment?
I only know what I've read in the public record, that he was accused of changing.
You're the director of the FBI. You didn't know that your own agency had information from the CIA verifying what Mr. Page told you, that these contacts had a basis, in fact, because he was working with the CIA. Did you know that Mr. Klein-Smith doctored the email for it to read that there was no association between Page and the CIA, that he changed there was to there was not? How do you feel about that?
I know nothing about Mr. Klein-Smith other than what I've read in the public
Well, how
record.
do you feel in general about an FBI lawyer doctoring information exculpatory to somebody being surveilled? September the 7th. 2016, the U.S. intelligence officials forwarded an investigative referral of FBI to FBI Director James Comey and Assistant Director of Counterintelligence Peter Strzok regarding U.S. presidential candidate Hillary Clinton's approval of a plan concerning U.S. presidential candidate Donald Trump and Russian hackers hampering U.S. elections as a means of distracting the public from her use of a private email server. Did you know there is no Russian consulate in Miami? And the dossier mentions that there was one. Shouldn't the court have been told that part of the dossier is not reliable? Do you also know that Michael Cohen's adventures in Prague never happened? The dossier asserts that Michael Cohen went to Prague on some venture for Trump in Russia, and it never happened. And they know it never happened. They had information from a foreign government saying it's not true, and they never told the court. They never corrected all the misinformation in the dossier. It was used over and over again, and they never told the court about how unreliable it was.
This episode of Legal AF is brought to you by Moinkbox. Did you know 4 companies control over 80% of the U.S. meat industry, and that the largest share of U.S. pork is now controlled by China? These meat giants use mobster-like tactics to crush American family farms, flooding our food supply with sketchy additives and low-quality meat. So what can you do about it? Here's where Moink comes in. Featured on Shark Tank, Moink is standing up for family farms and your food security. Their meat comes from animals raised outdoors, like nature intended. Their farmers get an honest day's pay, and Moink delivers straight to your doorstep at a price you can actually afford. This is real American meat, born, raised, and harvested right here in the USA. Moink is helping save rural America. I love it, and you will too. Join the Moink movement today, support American family farms, and join the, wait for it, Moink movement today at moinkbox.com/legalaf right now and get free bacon for a year. That's 1 year of the best bacon you'll ever taste, but only for a limited time. Spelled MOINK. box.com/legalaf. That's moinkbox.com/legalaf. Now, let me just remind everybody that I'm not sure, we might have had a President Hillary Clinton had the October surprise in 2016 not been James Comey making an announcement that he was opening up an investigation about whether an email server in her Chappaqua basement was properly used and secured or not, or whether she was using emails on state.gov or hillaryclinton.com or whatever she was doing, and whether she exposed any communications to potential hacking and a national security clearance problem. Let me remind you, here's a clip of him announcing that he was going after Hillary Clinton just at the moment when he should not make that kind of announcement to interfere with the election. Let's play that clip.
Good morning. I'm here to give you an update on the FBI's investigation of Secretary Clinton's use of a personal email system during her time as Secretary of State. After a tremendous amount of work over the last year, the FBI is completing its investigation and referring the matter to the Department of Justice for a prosecutive decision. What I want to do today is 3 things. I want to tell you what we did.
Now, Comey became a pariah in the world of Democrats and in the world of free-thinking people because he tanked her. He did exactly what an FBI director is not supposed to do. You want to do an investigation? Then go open an investigation. But he wanted the public to know about it just at the moment when she needed every vote she could get. We may not have had a Trump 1 if it wasn't for James Comey, to be honest. And yet, Donald Trump never secretly credits him for that, is always going after him with his lackeys, because he was involved with trying to determine whether Russia colluded. We know Russia and Iran and other places use Facebook and social media to try to influence the election in favor of Donald Trump. You can see why now. They didn't want Hillary Clinton. They didn't want Joe Biden. They didn't want Kamala Harris. They wanted Donald Trump, and they still do. Even Donald Trump made a comment that he believed that Russia he actually called for their cooperation. If you remember the clip, he called for Russia, if you've got the Hillary Clinton emails, now would be a great time to release them. Let's run that clip.
That a person in our government, Katie, would delete or get rid of 33,000 emails. That gives me a big problem. After she gets a subpoena, she gets subpoenaed and she gets rid of 33,000 emails. That gives me a problem. Now, if Russia or China or any other country has those emails, I mean, to be honest with you, I'd love to see them. Russia, if you're listening, I hope you're able to find the 30,000 emails that are missing. I think you will probably be rewarded mightily by our press.
So where are we? There's going to be reporting. You're going to hear it from me. You're going to hear it on Legal AF on the MeidasTouch network. Lindsey Halligan is going to indict James Comey. She's going to try to indict Letitia James. She's going to indict all the Donald Trump political rivals. And all of them are going to have defenses of vindictive prosecution. Just the social media post by Donald Trump alone is enough to establish it. We're already seeing vindictive prosecution end up in court filings. Like Abrego Garcia just mentioned that Eric Seibert left his job rather than indict Letitia James to argue that Abrego Garcia's charges in the Middle District of Tennessee should be dismissed. So defense lawyers are watching all of the moves of the Department of Justice, including this latest one. I'll continue to follow it. Rapidly moving story here on MeidasTouch, on Legal AF YouTube, and of course on Legal AF, the Substack, where I'll pull together live reporting as we get more information. Follow me on Legal AF Substack as well. So until my next report, I'm Michael Popok. Can't get your fill of Legal AF? Me neither. That's why we formed the Legal AF Substack. Every time we mention something in a hot take, whether it's a court filing or a oral argument, come over to the Substack. You'll find the court filing and the oral argument there, including a daily roundup that I do called, wait for it, Morning AF. What else? All the other contributors from Legal AF are there as well. We got some new reporting. We got interviews. We got ad-free versions of the podcast and hot takes. Where? Legal AF on Substack. Come over now to free subscribe.